Mr. Morton?
Present.
Mr. Stuchel?
Present.
Mr. Edwards?
Present.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Here.
Mr. Schildmeyer?
Present.
Mr. Culbertson?
Here.
Mr. Estep?
Here.
Let the record show all 7 members are present. Council, what is your pleasure on approving the written minutes of the December 21st council meeting?
Mr. President,
Mr. Morton?
I motion to approve the written minutes of the December 21st council meeting.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Morton, second by Mr. Estep, to approve the written minutes of the December 21st council meeting. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We'll move to reports of administrative officials. Mayor, Mr. Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I had the pleasure of swearing in the newest member of the St. Bernard Fire Department, Greg Melton, as a firefighter EMT. He is currently enrolled in paramedic school, so we're looking forward to a long-standing relationship with him and hope that we get to see him as he progresses through his career. Also, I am working with Alloy Development on the St. Bernard soap closure. We'll be trying to coordinate a meeting with Ready Cincinnati and the property owners, and I will keep everyone informed. This Saturday, if anyone's looking for something to do, the St. Clement Athletic Booster Cornhole Tournament will be held on Saturday, January 13th at the St. Clement Gym from 6 p.m. to midnight. So this, again, is a great opportunity to come out if you want to play cornhole or just socialize during a winter event. And this event does support the Michael Widener Cardinal Athletic Award. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Auditor, Ms. Brickwig.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a few things on the agenda for tonight. First being Resolution 1, 2024. It's just the resolution that we pass every year that allows us to use village funds to purchase meals and refreshments. So basically Boy Scout night or just any event that we have that we can use that money. Are there any questions on that? Thank you. The second one is Ordinance 1, 2024. State minimum wage went up to $10.45. So I made the changes, and they're highlighted in yellow. And there was a difference between all of them that I didn't really have to change anything but the first year of pay. So if this is okay with everybody, I just needed it approved. So when the swimming pool starts up, we can pay the summer employees that are coming in at the correct minimum wage. That's it, if there's no questions.
Mr. President,
Mr. Culbertson.
I'll make a motion, we put resolution number 1 and ordinance number 1 on the table for the next council meeting.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Culbertson, second by Mr. Estep, to place resolution number 1, 2024, as well as ordinance number 1, 2024 on the table for next council meeting. Are there any remarks? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Said that's it.
No, I have two more.
Okay.
And then W-2s were sent out this week, so everybody should have got their email, so you can go online and print your W-2s. And then for the full-time employees, you also have your health care form 1095. And then my final thing is actually from Heidi. We were discussing all the meetings that are coming up, and so she pulled up the Ohio Open Meetings Act, and she just wanted me to go over it with you to make sure that on the special meetings and the committee meetings, that she doesn't have to drive around town to all 6 of the mailboxes and post them. And this is what it says. It says, every public body must establish by rule a reasonable method for notifying the public in advance of its meetings. The public body's notice rule must provide for notice that is consistent and actual reaches the public. So and then under special meetings, it says, a special meeting is any meeting other than the regular meeting. A public body must establish by rule a reasonable method that informs the public of time, place, purpose of a special meeting and conforms. So she was asking council's approval if on the special meetings and the committee meetings, she continues to just put those in the display case here at City Hall and on the website instead of having to drive around, because apparently we now have 4 special meetings next week. So she'd have to drive to all 5 different places and put it up. So that's all she's asking, if council approves that she will continue to do that. Does that make sense?
So basically, you're asking that the meetings just be placed on the board outside of City Hall as well as on the website?
For special meetings, and then
For-
she'll put the ordinances and resolutions in all the mailboxes throughout town, just not the meeting notice.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. Culbertson?
I guess I just want to confer to Valerie and
I
make sure
just
that,
read it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
My apologies. I was out, I've been out since this weekend. I literally just got home about 4:30 this afternoon dealing with a family emergency. I didn't have my phone with me, so I apologize. I haven't seen this because of that.
Well, Mr.
Um,
President, I would confer to Heidi, since she is our records retention and open public meeting person, and we looked this up online. I don't know if you could find something different. This is actually Ohio law here that she gave me, so I think she knows what she's doing.
I know in the past, we've never placed
Right.
committee chairs have announced the meetings. They've gotten with the clerk to put them on the website, so that's,
Well, with everybody watching her like a hawk and making sure she does everything right, she just wants to make sure this is 100% okay with everybody. And it's the way we're doing it, but she said just to run it by you guys, just to make sure that
If you
you're
wouldn't
okay
mind-
with it. It is the law. She just wants to know if you're okay
I was
with
gonna
it.
say, if you don't mind making a copy and giving it to Valerie, and we'll, if we have to make a motion at the council meeting or something.
Well, you're going to have to
we'll
do
that.
something tonight because there's 4 special meetings next week.
Special meetings or committee meetings?
Well, a committee meeting is a special meeting. So
Unless
that's what
they're
she's
regularly-
saying.
Unless they're regularly scheduled, and I don't think we have any that are really
Right.
done on a regular basis.
So
So
she just wants to continue doing what we're doing and what the law is. And she
let me
just-
look at it first thing tomorrow morning, and I can get back to you. I think it's okay the way it is, but just let me double check. Like I said, I apologize. I had not anticipated being out until, 4:30 this afternoon, out of town and unavailable.
Okay. Then you can let Heidi know she has to drive around town with her other things. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Housefeld?
I don't mind having it just out here and waiting and see what Valerie comes up with, but just on a little note, couldn't we do a special call command? Just to make sure that the public, I know it's already on the websites, but just as an extra protection, I guess, is what I'm suggesting.
Mr. President,
Mayor?
I don't mind doing that. I mean, I would obviously combine them. So, and we also have a 2-minute limit, so we'll combine it and we can do that. That's not an issue. So, I mean, I don't.
Mr. President,
Ms. Housefeld?
and if memory's got me correct, I think 2 meetings and 2 meetings are on the same night, just an hour difference from each other.
Okay. All right, we'll do the call command.
Mr. President,
Mr. Schulmeyer?
well, I just have a question, and maybe not. It seems odd to me that council would be asked to vote on something that's Ohio law. What is the benefit of
Mr.
council
President,
voting on
because
Ms. Brickwick?
if you heard, what I said is it has to set up, what does it say? You have to come up with a reasonable method. So it's saying that is a reasonable method, but do you agree with the reasonable method? So that's what it's saying.
Okay,
So we've always done it this way. And she just wanted to make sure it was okay to continue that way. Because in all honesty, there were hardly ever any committee meetings, and now these committee meetings are coming constant now. And so she would be constantly getting in her car and driving to all these mailboxes and putting them in there. So we figured it was kind of a waste of time, when not many people even look at them. But the ordinances and the resolutions do have to be in there by law. So that's why she was just asking if you all agreed that it's reasonable if she continues to do it that way.
So how about if we make a motion to do it the way it's been done?
Okay.
And if Valerie, if we need to change it, Valerie will change it, but at least that covers us for next week. Anyone like to make a motion to keep notifying of regular committee meetings in the fashion we've been doing?
Mr. President,
Mr. Morton?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the previously used methods of notification of special meetings and committee meetings to be posted on the website and on the display case in front of City Hall.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Morton, second by Mr. Stuchel, to basically keep things the way they are until we hear otherwise from the law director. Are there any other remarks? Not all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Thank you. Law Director, Ms. Volkenberg.
Thank you, and again, I do apologize, I've been out of contact all this week, pretty much. on the agenda was something, and because I was out of town, I don't have before you, unfortunately, the ordinance that's in the agenda. The past several years, we have had a ordinance where we charge people, it's what, I think it's $15 for waste collection. And that's something that had been negotiated with the county. It was 5 years and with one automatic renewal, and it's actually expired. But we haven't heard from the county about anything differently. At least I haven't. I'm not aware that anybody in the administration has, so I'm assuming they're not trying to charge us anything more. I will get something, I will have Heidi issue a draft for you to look at so we can talk about it a little bit more. But that we have the past 5 years approved it with the $15 charge. It goes to, it's on people's tax bill. I'm sorry, water bill. I knew it was one of those utilities type things. I know it's just something that's done, that it helps defray the costs of things. And like I said, I do apologize because I did not anticipate being out of town and unavailable, but I'll get that circulated to you tomorrow to look at. And if you have any questions, then we can talk about it further at the council meeting. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Just for reference, the initial ordinance was ordinance 4 of 2018. And then if you need a copy, I've got the amendment as well. It is through Waterworks that we do that, so, okay. All right, thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Ungar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. We have the statement from Star Ohio. Our funds there as of December 29th, the last business day of the year, totaled $11,325,152.87. And I'll put copies in council's mailboxes. Also, the First State Bank down here was closing, so I withdrew the funds from there, and I need to get with the mayor. We're going to schedule time to go and open another account and put the money somewhere else. I have a cashier's check ready to go. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Safety and Service Director, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a little more on trash for when council decides to make up their mind. Last 3 years, we've been paying $33 a ton. This year, it went up to $38 a ton. I signed a 3-year contract because if it goes up $5 per ton in the end of the year, we don't know what next year is going to bring. So we're going to top out on the 3rd year at $41 a ton. So you're going to, and Republic is no longer, we can no longer take trash there, so we are under lock and key with Rumpke. So when you decide and talk about the $15, that would be sufficient. So, and since we've already voted and talked about it, I would keep it at $15 because of this, because it has raised, and we spend a fortune to get rid of St. Bernard trash. And I have just one thing to ask to the community. We are getting graffitied again quite a bit. So we'd like to ask your help that if you're in a park and you see a person with a spray can of paint, that's not usually a good sign and it's against the law. So what you really basically need to do is call the police. You can call me, but then I call the police. So it would be quicker if you just called the police because it's against the law and that's under suspicion. So, but the new cameras are up now. That should help a little, but we could still use your help to stop this. Our parks are getting graffiti, nearly every week. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And just for reference, they can call our police direct, 242,
They use either number, 911 or 2727.
as long as they're there, it'll go
Yes.
directly to them. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Tax Administrator, Ms. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the December 2023 end-of-month receipts report. Tax collection for December of 2023 was $1,883,162. December of 2023 is down 21% from December of 2022. Delinquent tax collected with capital recovery was $764.72. Delinquent tax collected with the Ohio Attorney General's Office was $4,543.57. Year-end 2023 tax collections were $11,276,718. And I just have a few updates from the tax office, which Sharon and I have been working on the last week. The Ohio State tax list for 2022 was processed, providing an additional 183 residents to our tax database. Those individuals received a letter this week for the filing of their 2022 tax return. 1099-G forms were issued and mailed last week. We're required by federal law to report any carry-forward tax payments and refunds that were issued in 2023. 2023 fourth quarter estimated payment coupons were mailed last week to those who qualified. The e-file site will be up and running in early February for the 2023 tax filings. A PDF paper version of the 2023 tax form is currently available on the tax webpage. 2023 reconciliations were printed and mailed out last week. Assessments are currently being conducted on all who did not respond to the November letter that was mailed regarding delinquent 2022 tax returns. If you receive this letter, this assessment, do not hesitate. You have 60 days to respond if you disagree and would like to petition for a reassessment. After 60 days, the assessment becomes final. Assessments are based upon the average household income for 2022 in Hamilton County, Ohio, for the state county census. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. Morton.
Well, first I want to say that I hope everyone had a happy holidays and a great start to the new year. I'm really excited for what 2024 has in store for our village. To kick off the new year, I held my first of many Community Connect events where over a dozen residents were able to attend and share their concerns and ideas regarding our village. These events will continue on the first Thursday of each month, with the next planned for February 1st from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Bigby Coffee at 4921 Vine Street. And as the chair of the Finance Committee, I've also set up regular meetings with our auditor, and I've discussed with our fellow members of the committee to proactively discuss budget appropriations and any other pertinent topics regarding our village's budget and finances. Our first meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 17th at 7 p.m. in Centennial Hall on the lower level of City Hall for anyone else who would like to attend. We will be discussing budget transparency, current abatement and TIF policy and landscape, as well as future meeting scheduling and any potential upcoming appropriations such as Ordinance 1, 2024. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Service, Mr. Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Applications for seasonal employment at the St. Bernard Service Department are now available for pickup at City Hall. Individuals over the age of 16 possessing a valid driver's license are invited to apply. The Service Department will be closed on Monday, January 15th in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There will be no trash collection next Monday. Normal Monday collection will be shifted to Tuesday. Normal Tuesday collection will be shifted to Wednesday. And trash collection for Thursday and Friday will remain unchanged. Lastly, the Service Committee will be holding its first meeting of the year. The meeting will take place next Tuesday, January 16th at 7 p.m. here in Council Chambers, and we'll be having a general discussion of responsibilities, tasks, and future projects. I encourage all those interested to attend, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Public Improvements, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Wednesday, January 17th at 6 o'clock in Centennial Hall, we're also having a committee meeting, the Public Improvement Committee. Our discussion will be whatever topics is brought up either by our committee members, anyone else attending. A couple possible topics would be an update possibly on the shopping center development and getting more information so I can understand what the CIC does and what they're responsible for. Everyone's welcome. Someone from the administration or CIC, we'd be thrilled if they would attend to help give us the update. I also like to thank Kate Klaus at the St. Bernard branch of the library for an invitation and tour of the branch. It's a beautiful building with a lot to offer our village. It is all you would expect and more. It is an after-school program to watch over kids whose parents aren't home until after work. It has a craft area for projects, including making buttons that you can wear. It has computers and a printer that you can use. In a room for about 20 people, you can reserve for a meeting. I would encourage anyone to take the tour. I'm sure they would be impressed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Safety, Ms. Hausfeld. There are 2 items under your committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first that I wanted to discuss or see what council's point of views was to discuss adding the rules of council, addressing missing certain members of councils as far as missing their meetings. I know general public person gave me, or a citizen gave me a paperwork saying 4 meetings for a 4-year term. I don't think that's reasonable, especially because some of our members are only 2-year terms and others are 4-year terms. But I do think something needs to be in place as far as, you know, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and how many meetings that we as council members are allowed to, or excused to miss as far as per year. So I just wanted to get other people's ideas and opinions as far as if they have any on that particular discussion. And then I'll go on to the next thing.
Anyone? And that's why I put on the back of there, I know when you brought it up the end of last year, I think it's a matter that should go into laws, contracts, and claims, possibly come back with a recommendation from there, but that's just.
Mr.
Suggestion.
President, if nobody
Sounds-
has a opinion on it, and I don't know what the correct number would be. I mean, you know, I've talked to, you know, a couple people and stuff, and it's hard to actually decide. So I don't have an objection to put it in laws, contracts, and claims. Let them discuss it and come back with their opinion as far as what, but I do believe in the past, and I'm not talking this year, but in the past, there has been several council members that have missed several meetings during the year. And I do think we need to get control on how many meetings we're allowed to be excused for. I understand that there are emergencies comes up, there's deaths that come up, there's things that can't be helped. And that's, to me, is what an excused absence is. But there's other things that can be helped, that you could schedule a date night on a different date, knowing that you have council meetings every other week. So I make a motion that we put it in laws, contracts, and claims to be discussed and brought back at a later date.
Seconded.
Excuse me, a motion by Ms. Hausfeld, second by Mr. Morton to place this particular item into the laws, contracts, and claims. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right, item 2.
Item 2 was to discuss a room, computer, printer for council people to use. And a few of us have taken the sunshine thing, different things that is brought up, and I just think when you go to work, and let's face it, even though this is a part-time job, this is still a job, that your work provides you with the materials that you need to do your work. And I'm not talking to buy me a personal computer, I'm not talking to buy me a personal laptop, even though that was a joke 2 weeks ago. I'm talking about a room at City Hall here that we can come, we can look over our emails, we can answer people back if we need to, that we don't have to use our own personal stuff in order to do our job. That's my opinion, and I was just gonna put it out there to see what other council members thought about that.
Mr. President.
Mr. Morton?
I just have a couple kind of filters for this conversation, because what I'm understanding is that the concern is twofold. It's one, printing capabilities, right? And then the other concern is access to materials and resources, like via our email, the ordinances that we review, the minutes that we review ahead of time. Am I understanding that right? So, yeah, so I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we have the printing capabilities here. I printed my report today, so I think that might resolve that issue, and I hope that would resolve that. In terms of access to the proper technology that you need to get these materials ahead of time, my opinion is that this is what our council pay is for. It's to help subsidize the things that we need to be able to do that type of job. And I do have to shamelessly admit, out of the jobs that I've had in my short career so far, only one of them has provided me a laptop. Every other case I've had to either figure a way around it, I had to use public resources, or I had to purchase it myself. Now, the one objection I do hear and understand is utilizing public sources like going to the library, that might be a security risk. And I would love to entertain the conversation of security behind our technology, our emails, et cetera. But it's hard for me to rationalize spending resources when I think we already have systems in place that give us the opportunity to accomplish those two facets that I said, both printing and access to materials digitally. So that is my opinion as it stands right now, but I am interested if anyone has any counter opinions to that. I would be all ears for it.
Anyone else?
Mr. President,
Mr. Stuchel.
so I would have a recommendation for like a compromise if we would want to entertain it. It would be to purchase Microsoft 365 for all of the administrative members to use. That way, it could be linked to our city email and then also saved to the cloud. So then if you're worried about any security risks, even though you're using your own personal devices, it's still saved through your like work email, if that makes sense. Just like our emails are, and they're all recorded that way.
Anyone else?
Mr. President,
Mr. Unger.
there is the old computer in my office, and I'm more than willing to share it with anyone that would like to use it. It was purchased in 2000, the last census, so I think it's like 2010 maybe. It's pretty old, but it does work, and anyone's welcome to use it. Sure, Mr. Paul can add the security for the door to let you in if you not already have access to it.
It's the software issue. I mean, that, yeah, I mean, you're probably talking a good $1,000 or something, because then that's why we're getting, that we're all have the newer computers, because they all have all the old software. That's why none of the older ones work anymore. Yeah.
Because I get it through the web. Through the web? Like he was saying 360 through the web? I thought you just had to get to the web to get to it.
Yes, you're on the server. So and as all they are, each of them have a 365 office.
Yeah.
We pay probably close to $20,000 every 3 years for that to happen. But what's happening is if you can get to the internet on yours, I think you're a Windows 7, which they stopped backing Microsoft. And they're all the way up to 11. City Hall's not even up to 11 yet, we're on 10. So your computer would be just a little antiquated.
So I'm not hearing anybody else in favor, so it doesn't sound like, it seems like a go.
Mr. President, so
Mayor.
if indeed we need to look at giving printing access, I mean, I think that Mr. Paul could help make that happen at least if that's necessary. So if it's a matter of utilizing, the printer and whatnot, and being able to connect with your laptop or, whatever device you may have, I mean, I think we can work on that, correct? I mean, that would be an option that I think we should explore. So that way we're not dedicating any one individual computer here at City Hall, but yet if council needed a place to sit, go make phone calls, from here or whatever, if they didn't want to use their cell phone, fine, or a workspace, and then be able to do printing from their own device, I think we could probably set that up easily.
I was going to say that conference room where we go for executive session always used to be labeled as council's conference room, basically.
Mr. President,
Mr. Paul.
either that or I'm in the process of cleaning the back hall of all the antiquated equipment. It's all been wiped. All the data has been zeroed out, so they're being ready to be trashed. No, John, your computer will remain there until you say goodbye to it.
You can take it if you want.
Mr. President,
Ms. House.
my only concern, basically, well, the printing is one thing, but, which, by the way, I did not get the W-2 thing that you just said you sent out to everybody. I did not get it. But
I sent out emails to everybody and yours did not kick back. So your emails, you can just go into your program and get it. Now that I told you it's there, you just go in and get it.
Okay, I'll meet you afterwards, and you can show me how to do it or whatever, because it's not there. But my concern is with the sunshine and all the things that, has been discussed, that, they can come back and they can, if I don't have a computer, I don't have a laptop, I have an iPad, I have a phone. And my thing is if they have to come back and take people's laptops or computers for God knows what, if they're subpoenaed, whatever, I just think it should be to where it should be something, if we're doing work for the city, it should be here at City Hall and it should be on their computer versus our own personal stuff. That's my only concern, and that's fine that nobody else is in favor of it, but I at least wanted to put it out there, my concerns. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Estes.
I somewhat agree. I don't have a computer at home. Ours went down and we never replaced it. I don't have an iPad. My wife does. So I work off of my phone, but like she said, I'm a little concerned with all this stuff I read in the paper and it goes around about the sunshine law. You want to communicate with somebody. Do they come in and take your phone? Do they take everything off your phone? It would be nice to have a separate device to do city stuff on and your phone to do your personal stuff on. I think it would keep it a lot cleaner. Thank you. I don't expect anybody to buy me a computer, but it'd be nice to have access to something. Thank you.
All right, anything else, Ms. Housefeld?
No, that's it,
Okay.
Mr. President.
All right, laws, contracts, and claims, Mr. Schultmeyer.
Thanks, Mr. President. We will add the discussion about the rules of council and missing meetings to the next meeting. We haven't set it yet. It'll be set probably for early next month. I want to get with Valerie and Jonathan for availability, but we'll send that out. So we'll add that. I think we have short-term rentals to pick up from last year and maybe a couple other things. But that concludes my report for today.
Thank you. Marketing, Mr. Culbertson.
Thanks, Mr. President. The Recreation Department will be hosting sports signups at the Recreation Office on 2 dates. Saturday, January 27th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and Saturday, February 3rd from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. You may also sign up at City Hall Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Activities include knot hole baseball, ages 7 to 13. Cost is $40 for residents, $60 for non-residents. Girls softball, ages 7 to 13. Again, cost $40 for resident, $60 for non-residents. Stingray swim team, based on ability, all ages, $40 for residents, $60 for non-residents. Say soccer, ages 6 to 13. Again, $40 for residents, $60 for non-residents. Winter swim lessons, all ages, $20. These will take place on Tuesday evenings or Saturday mornings. Mommy and Me swim lessons, 6 months to 36 months. Cost is $20. This will take place on Thursday evenings in March. T-ball ages 4 to 7, $20 is the cost. Lollipop soccer, ages 3 to 5, $20 is the cost. The village is now accepting applications for summer employment, including lifeguards and support staff at the Aquatic Center. The deadline to submit an application is Monday, February 12th. The next St. Bernard Ludlow Grove Historical Society meeting will be held on Monday, January 15th at the Municipal Building starting at 7 p.m. There will be a presentation by Larry Phillips titled Meeting the City Founders of St. Bernard. And lastly, the Marketing Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, January 16th in Council Chambers starting at 6 p.m. We will discuss the village newsletter and the new resident welcome packet. And I too would like to congratulate and welcome new firefighter Greg Melton to the village. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
Mr. President, before you go to
Ms. Quick.
audience, I forgot something. But I'd also like to comment on something. I was just thinking about this. I was on council for 8 years. There's really not any, you don't get confidential stuff. You get ordinances, resolutions, and you're not supposed to be communicating through email anyway because of the sunshine laws. The ordinances and the resolutions are put in your mailbox. So I don't,
Good.
so I think you will be, you'll be fine. Because I know whenever I do anything, I send it out email, and Heidi does the same thing. We put the hard copy in the mailbox. You have to come down and get your mail.
Sure.
And you were in here this week to get it, so you got everything that was in there. So I think that part, I don't think we have a major issue with. What I forgot, is when I told Connor about it, on the sick time payout, we have someone retiring in January, and he's pretty much gonna use up the whole line item. And I have some other employees that have put in for their sick time payout. This is a line item. I can't predict what it's gonna be. We can put the entire liability in there if you want it, maybe $2 million every year, but I don't think we want to do that. In the past, I've just come and told you when we need more money. Usually it doesn't hit in January like it did, but, so I'm going to ask if I can have an additional appropriation of $60,000, and then I'll do a transfer into the employee sick time payout. And hopefully that'll do us for a while, but like I said, I don't know, they can ask for it in their last 8 years. So it just depends on when they want to ask for it, and two police officers did on top of the person retiring. So is it okay? Yeah, I'm just asking council's permission for an additional appropriation ordinance for that line item. And while I'm saying that, I guess I should add to this, and I talked to Connor about this. There's a lot of discussion out there about two different things, emergency and second and third readings. I wish people would understand emergency does not have anything to do with anything besides meaning it goes into effect that day. So everybody's running around town going, oh my God, they're passing everything emergency. It's just goes into effect that day, not in 30 days. That's not a major thing. Second and third reading are something different. And as I explained to Connor, I wish we could do the appropriation ones every meeting, but that would be 3 months. And as I explained to him, you have a budget at your house. If you think nothing's gonna go wrong or change in 3 months, consider a village. So things happen. They don't happen that often. Like this one surprised me. But usually, we're pretty well budgeted, nowadays. But that is gonna be a tough one to be able to have appropriation ordinances go 3 months. I mean, it's almost close to impossible. And so I hope I explained that the right way to you. But the emergency thing, I just wish people would understand that just means it goes into effect that day, because it's being insinuated that we're trying to pass things before anybody can even speak about it. But that's not what the emergency clause is. So I hope that explains at least the appropriation ordinances better. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to put the additional appropriation ordinance on the table?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
I'll make a motion to put the additional appropriations ordinance on the table for the next meeting.
I'll second it.
A motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Mr. Estep, to place additional appropriation ordinance on the table for the retiree payouts. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. All right. Now we'll go to business and industry. Mr. Estep.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm working on a list of businesses in our village to invite a business of the month, I guess, to each council meeting. I've spoken to Mr. Edwards and Mr. Culberson. I'd like to sort of piggyback on the meeting at January 17th at 6 p.m. in Centennial Hall, and we'll meet during that to talk more about it. But in the meantime, I'd like to get a list of the businesses and get a letter out to them, and maybe it'd be more customer friendly to everybody who lives in the town and works and shops here and everything else. So it's a step in the right direction, I hope. That's all I have.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council? State your name and address for the record. That's all right.
Nicole Klungel, 551 Church Street. Mr. Edwards, I noticed that you mentioned several possible topics for your committee meeting. Since it's a special committee meeting, you do have to announce what those topics are in advance, and you're restricted to those. If it were a regularly scheduled council meeting, you'd have a lot more flexibility. Also, council passed an ordinance discussing how a notification for special meetings needs to work last year. So I hope you recall that or look at it. And then regarding emergency ordinances, I completely agree that appropriations ordinances cannot go regular course. Other ordinances can, and the main benefit to not passing a regular ordinance as an emergency ordinances bypass citizens' rights of referendum. meaning if citizens really object to an ordinance that's passed and it's passed as an emergency, they don't have the right to collect signatures to put it on the ballot so that they have a say in it. But if it does go, if it's not an emergency, they do have that right, and I think that's an important one to preserve.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address?
Greg Lair, 111 Albert Street. On the notices thing, I believe declared emergency ordinance 30 of last year stated that all the 5 locations had to have all the notices located, posted there. Do you guys remember that? Wasn't that long ago? It was like October. So there are 5 locations that all notices have to be posted. Just FYI.
Just for the record on that, I don't have the ordinance, it's at home. I'll have to look at it, but I know in the past, well, and if we just pass it next one, it's not worth it, but I know that they were never posted in the past, but I'll have to look at that ordinance before. I don't have an answer for it, so thanks.
Right.
Anyone else in the audience? State your name and address for the record.
Task Force 309 Jackson. When till down.
Mr. President.
Mayor.
So, Tom, you're asking when are we going to demolish the shopping center and when are we going to demolish the old bank building? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Mr. President. Okay, so the exact time frame is yet to be determined. We are working on vacating as far as the businesses that are there so that we can actually move forward. Once that happens, we will go out for public bid. So I would hope that within the next 4 to 5 months that you will see some activity, but I can't give you an exact date. But we will do everything we can to give enough advance notice.
Sports, kickball thing, in September.
Tom, are you talking about the fundraiser that happened in the past?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get with those people that organized that, and when the time comes, we'll announce it and make sure everybody's aware of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr.
Ms.
President,
Brickwick.
I'm going to ask a few questions for Heidi, if that's okay. And I'm going to defer to both of you since you know more, we'll be honest. So on a committee meeting, is that considered a special meeting or a committee meeting? Because this is some of the questions we had today, because we've never really had them before.
In our case, most of the committee meetings are going to be special meetings because no regular meetings have been established.
That was my next question. So if, example, if a department or a committee had announced 2 weeks ago, I'm going to have a meeting on so-and-so at such a time, would it have to be posted, or by announcing that and planning for it, does it still need to be posted? That was her other question.
My understanding is that it still needs to be posted.
Okay, well,
But I would
I
refer to
understand.
the ordinance
Right.
on where it has to be posted.
okay. So basically, we'll be losing a clerk at least an hour a week to be. Okay. Okay. Well, maybe if the committees can give her some more notice, that would help, because she's going to be very busy with this. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mayor.
Just also to clarify, and I asked this question is actually for Mr. Estep. With respect to your committee, so unless I misunderstood, so you made reference to piggybacking. So are you actually separate committee meeting that you're blending with public improvements? Did I misunderstand?
That was my intention, but if that won't work,
No,
We need a
Mis-
different start time, or?
Mr. President, I'm not trying to be difficult. I
No,
just
no,
want to
I'm
make
fine.
sure that if you all had asked me to make any kind of announcement that I understood properly, and so that it's not just coming as a surprise to Heidi, who then has to go out and provide notice that we're not setting her up for an issue because we don't have it properly announced and scheduled. So I'm just asking to make sure that I understand so that we can clarify this. If you're gonna say that, you know, I don't know if I can talk for an hour about public improvements, so whether or not, you know, you think that 6 o'clock or 6:30 that business and industry can meet, but I mean, I think it has to be, we have to have an established time.
Yes.
Mr. President, she has not put them out yet, so I think it is doable if you come up with that, because she printed all the other ones, I know that, because that's when the whole discussion came on what we have to do to make sure we do it right. So if you want to get with her and the public improvements and come with the time frame, you can
Okay.
still have time to post it, I don't think that would be an issue, and then let Jonathan know before he makes the call command.
That's fine, thank you.
Excuse me, all right. Anyone else in the audience? All right, if not, I show one resolution and 2 ordinances then for next council meeting. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr. Culbertson.
make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Culbertson, second by Mr. Estep to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? So ordered.